Arsenal Football Club, after years of fighting and scrambling and scraping for the Premier League title, taking the banter after banter from rival fans and even the in-house beefs in their own fan base. Arsenal Football Club managed to win the Premier League, but with winning the Premier League and all the successes that it brings, the next question is, can they go back to back? Well, we're going to talk about it. Let's find out right here on Toon Tactics TV, folks.
Brilliant from Shea. And now Murphy can take on the shot. Fabian Shea
All right, folks. How are you all doing? I hope you guys are blessed wherever you are, wherever you're doing. We've seen the World Cup already is going ballistic, lots of emotions, lots of things going on, but we're here to talk about we're here to talk about Arsenal Football Club, but as part of our From a Rival Lens series today, covering Arsenal. We're going to be, as always, look. We do with the from a rival lens series. We look at this. We'll do a squad analysis, covering squad minutes, squad quality, the resilience of that squad. How ready are they? That said team, in this case Arsenal, for the Premier League coming season. What changes they need to make? But we also cover the finances. So whatever, what is their SCR position in the league, and SCR position coming into the transfer window, and are they in a position to fill any of those gaps? So we do a thorough analysis of all of our teams, and today we're going to be doing it with Arsenal. But thankfully, by the grace of God, I'm not going to be by myself doing it. I'm very privileged and very excited to have one. I have to say, he's one of our own, even though he's an Arsenal fan, but he's one of our own in terms of Toon Tactics TV. He's been absolutely brilliant. One of the real regulars here on our shows. I'm sure all the folks in the chat will recognize him, all the folks in the comments, and those that are watching would have seen his deeply insightful comments, and sometimes even humorous comments. And he's gonna, as a incredible Arsenal fan, he's gonna help me break down and talk about all things Arsenal tonight. Folks, let me welcome our man Wobojog. Wobojog, welcome to the show, sir. How are you doing?
All good. Praise the Lord. All good. How's it going, guys?
Good to see. Absolutely amazing. I was just to say that I know that from what you've told me, this is your first kind of like appearance on a show. So I do feel very privileged to have you on.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So we're going to be covering Arsenal today, obviously, from the Rival Lens series, and we're going to be, as I mentioned, going through the finances, going through the squad itself. But before we get into it, Wobojog, I want to learn a little bit more of you, kind of, about in terms of like what your view of Arsenal season, yourself as a fan. What was it like, essentially getting that title after all that you guys have been through, and even going through with Arteta? What was it like winning that title?
Oh, the title was like box office. It was absolute total entertainment. I think everybody can agree that we played the best football and the most entertaining football. I'm being sarcastic, obviously. Our football
I'm like, shoot. Can they agree?
No. Our football was kind of it's effective but dreadful. That's the nicest way I can say it. It's effective, it works, and they figure it out basically, like how can they push the what's allowed to the limit, and sometimes cross the limit, sometimes a little bit lucky in getting over the limit and being allowed to do so. But overall, I think we did well last season, given like the amount of injuries that we had. So at least we had depth in the right areas, even though we get injuries, and we had physique, like physical. The players were exhausted by like the third quarter of the season. Like Zubimendi, for example, the first half of the season, he was amazing, flying off at the beginning. But then towards the end, it's so obvious that he's not used to this level of physicality and intensity. The Premier League is in a whole different stratosphere in terms of like physical requirements to be able to like actually go in, week out. But overall, I'm happy we won the league. I genuinely think it was more of a mental hurdle for us than a talent. The bunch of players that we had, they should have won the league 2 times already. But it was just mainly a mental issue for us, a mental blocker for them, I think, and for Arteta himself, more than the players actually. Keep in mind, this is like a coach in his first gig, essentially. And so like people kind of overlook that part of like, oh yeah, the players don't have the mentality. I'm like, yeah, but like even the coach himself doesn't have the mentality. He never won the league as a coach. So hopefully next season or the season after, we do have it at least in our locker of like, yeah, we know how to win it. Now it's a matter of, can we redo that again? So it's not a matter of mental thing anymore. It's a more of like, are we hungry enough? Do we have enough resources within the team to actually do that again or not?
And we're going to get into it. I think that's really, really good. Before we get into it, I wanted to know a little bit just for the folks and obviously folks who seen you in the chat and the comments all the time, and I get to speak to you, but I never got to ask you, Wobojog, what made you become an Arsenal fan?
So basically most of my family are Man United fans. My dad is a Madrid fan and a United fan. He's my uncles, for my dad's side, they're all like United fans. And it was basically me wanting to just, more of like an FU to my dad sort of thing. I'm going to support it that you hit the most. It really is not that deep. It wasn't that deep at all. It was not like style of play. It wasn't any of that. It did help to have Thierry Henry and Dennis Bergkamp at the beginning. So
right.
Yeah, it did
Man, so then I guess the 20 years we didn't win a Premier League, it must have been a difficult one.
I learned to never go against my dad for quite some time now, as you can see. Listen to him. He knows.
Football is a humbler. Football is a humbler. Well, let's get into it. Let's start off things with the financial aspect of things as well. But hope you appreciate the thumbnail as well. The idea being is that back-to-back trophy? Is it in Arsenal's hands? Is it something that's already been built for you? So I went on to AI, and this is for yourself and for the audience. But I went to. I don't know if have you heard of Craig Cordell?
A what?
Greg Cordell. Sorry, Greg Cordell.
No, I haven't heard of him.
He's essentially like, he's on X. He's like I don't know if he'll call himself a football finance expert, but he's definitely got like extensive background in like finances. He's a bit like Kieran Maguire and those kind of guys, right? But he goes into absolute depths into like all the clubs, not just Arsenal or Newcastle, but all the clubs, and kind of assessing their finances, looking at their financial statements, and then kind of giving a projection in terms of where they'll be revenue-wise, cost-wise, and everything else. Are they in a healthy type of state, right? So I mentioned Greg because I use Greg's really, really extensive research, as well as some of Arsenal's statements in terms of their own finances, to kind of get to the conclusion that you see before you. And this is before, by the way, this is because Greg's research was finished just before you guys won the Premier League. So what it doesn't have is the fact that you've won the Premier League and that you got to the final of the Champions League. And for instance, you've just sold Trossard, right? So you can imagine that it's even better. This current SCR position is even better than what it looks at the moment, right? So I wanted to mention all that to say this. And for the audience that might not be able to see, what it's essentially saying is that the bottom line is Arsenal's SCR position as a squad cost ratio is at 60.1%. So they are the total squad costs of their revenue, what they're using at the moment is 60%. They're 9.9%. And I would actually go a little bit further if I was to speculate, maybe even 12%, 12 to 13%. Below in terms of financial headroom, in terms of the 70% UEFA limit. Remember, if Arsenal weren't in the Champions League, that would go up to 85%. Obviously, they are in the Champions League. So you've got, put it this way, you're in a, if you was in a bodybuilding competition weeks out, you're in tip top shape heading into it. Put it this way. um,
We're in Tottenham's
what's
seconds right now.
Well, I would say this, Wobojo. I think you're even better than Tottenham. Because go on.
I was going to say we're in Tottenham settings because I was just making a general comment. Of course, we're a bit more successful. We have a larger financial headroom. We have more capital to work with in our window. Mm-hmm. But I'm talking in absolute terms, in terms of like the 60.1% percent in terms of our wage to our turnover. Obviously, we in an absolute sense, yes, our wages are much higher. At least I think I would expect them, like, these bonuses should kick in. One thing to keep in mind, like you said, and I think you alluded to it earlier, is these financial statements and estimates are usually about 9-month lag, because the clubs don't report immediately their financials. So they're working like about, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's about a 9-month lag. So I would assume
24-25 season.
Yep. So I think even probably after winning the league itself and the Champions League prize money, that probably is a little bit less than that, unless maybe I'm not sure about, maybe Greg did take into account. Keep in mind, like, first and second in the Champions League, the prize money difference is like 30 million, I think, or like 20 million, something minimal.
Wow.
It actually, yeah, if you win the Champions League or you lose in the final, financially speaking, it's about a 20 million or 30 million difference, I think, in like the prize money. Obviously, like, there's difference with like sponsorships and whatnot. All these other things do kick in, but in the prize money itself, is not that big of a difference. It's not a financial ruin situation thing.
Right. There is a little bit of, like, what would I call it? Some of the benefits after, like, you still get to play, for instance, Super Cup afterwards. You get to go to the World Club Cup as well. So some of those things, and just obviously the branding of being a Champions League winner.
It does huge.
It's huge.
It is huge. It does make a lot of money.
Exactly. And so, just for the folks maybe that can't see the screen or are watching, part of what Greg Cordell used in terms of calculating Arsenal's costs, and I'm going to ask Wobojog about this, is that obviously it's putting the key financial elements, which is obviously total revenue, the wage costs, player amortization, player sales, operating expenses, finance costs, and cash flow all play a part. And there's obviously the obvious costs around the team and everything else, but there's also the earnings the team they make from matchday revenue, which for Arsenal is huge as well. Their broadcasting revenue is huge. Their commercial revenue is fantastic as well. And for instance, Arsenal's profit from player sales needs a little bit of work.
Needs a lot of work.
You haven't broken that 40 million barrier yet. We're out. Well, at least Newcastle were holding the belt for British transfer record at the moment. Back to back 100 million pound sales.
You know what? Fair enough, and just fairs. And I'm so happy you tanked Tottenham's window with that 100 million Tonali's. I really thank you guys. I appreciate it.
What do you think of that, Sal? Just as a slight tangent. What did you think of that deal, the Tonali deal?
He's going to AC Milan in 3 years. He's heading to AC Milan in 3 years if he doesn't have gambling issues again. I don't know, but you know what? I see a lot of people getting on there, like, getting upset about it, which I kind of like. Fair enough. It's funny for me. Like, why are you upset if Tottenham is paying 100? For a person that is worth 100 for them is 100% is worth 100. Like, let's get that straight. For you, he's not worth 100 million. That's why you sold him.
No. Yeah.
Like Bruno is definitely worth 200 for you,
He
probably,
is.
because
Yeah.
he's like he's the anchor of the team. Like I know, like if Bruno
Yes.
goes, he's not gonna go for 200, but like the value that he brings to the team and the setup for Eddie Howe to replace him, you need 2 players. Good luck with
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a very good analysis of that. And it's good that you said it, because it's difficult as a Newcastle fan, especially if I'm talking to rival fans, saying, yeah, but not to say that doesn't matter, that doesn't matter, but he doesn't matter as much as certain other players. I think between me and you, Wobojog, I think we'd even argue he might not matter as much as Lewis Miley.
No, not remotely. No, seriously, not remotely. Because Lewis Miley, the profile for that kid, and I have a thing with Adrian Pickett. Basically, it's a running joke of I want to get Lewis Miley off of your hands, and he won't get Staka back. But yeah, for me, Lewis Miley, generally speaking, the gem of your team is not even Bruno. It's actually Lewis Miley. If you manage to keep hold of him in the next 2 years, that is easily somebody you can build a team around, especially if he develops into that six spot. And if he has a profile of playing the 6 and do the 8 to some extent, he can cover left back. Right back for you. Like, yeah, Bruno cannot do that. He's not as mobile. He's smart, but he's not as mobile as Miley. And
what is it
old.
that you see, Wobojo? Sorry to interrupt you, Wobojo. What is it that you see? Because obviously, myself as a Newcastle fan, you watch the channel, so you know that myself personally and the fans on here, we've been raving on about him for a while. But you're a rival fan, right?
Yep.
When did you first see Lewis Miley, and what kind of has drawn your attention to him?
I think you had a Trippier. I think Trippier was injured at the time. Was that last season? No, not last season. The season before, when he played predominantly right back. I remember, and I was like, wait a minute, this kid is playing left back. He's not moving like he's playing right back, but he doesn't have the physique of a right back. He's not short and or fast in that way. He's a bit of like a Dan Burney like frame. And I was like, okay, I get Dan Burn in center back a little bit, but like I don't get Miley there. But then I looked up a little bit about him, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, that kid is not even meant to be a right back. I think he was meant to be a midfielder, or at least he trained in academy days as a midfielder. Is that correct?
He is a midfielder. Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, so, and then I immediately started doing like parallels between him and Lewis Kelly, actually, and I was like, that's another player playing at left back. But he's not playing like a left back. If you actually look at his heat map, I know in the team sheet, most of the time that you see him at left back position, but actually if you look at his heat map, where does he spend most of his time? It's actually in the middle of the park. Same thing with Miley, I believe. If you actually look at his heat map, you would see that most of it is closer to the center of the park than like a conventional, traditional right back position. And so in my mind, if you have somebody that can do the right back to a good level. Premier League is not a joke, and people need to understand this.
No.
Like, you are talking about the top of the top of the top, like the top 1% of athletes in the world. You're going against them. You're getting the best wingers in the world to make it to the Premier League. It's how do I say this? Like a quote unquote, it's almost like a super league at this point, just giving the finances allowed. We're almost like a super league at this point. If you look at the Conference League and the Europa League, it's going to be dominated by Premier League clubs, just because of the difference in finances. And then you don't have clubs dropping from the Champions League into the Europa League or the Conference League anymore. So you end up with a situation where you have Hoffenheim facing Aston Villa.
Yeah.
And Aston Villa has it dwarfs Hoffenheim's budget and cost, and they're just in terms of finances, right, and the kind of talent that they can pull. And so Miley, to play in this league to this respectable level, I'm not saying he is world-class right back, but for somebody that's not his position, and to be able to work in like an Eddie Howe system that requires a lot of freaking running, man. It's not like a position based to be able to survive and do this well. And then you can see him playing in midfield a couple of times last season actually as well. I really think that kid is destined to the top, genuinely.
No, I couldn't agree with you more.
For me, the kids that I watch out for right now, and I genuinely enjoy watching, and I have a thing for fullbacks in general. I enjoy watching them, especially just with the meta of football now changing. So Lewis Kelly, Lewis Miley, and what's his name from Man City? O'Reilly.
Oh, Nico Riley. Yeah.
Nico Riley. I really enjoy watching. Especially, he has this weird thing of like ghosting into space and heading the ball like when there's a crosses. He has a way of like evading being marked, working like especially if he's running as a right back. He plays predominantly right back. Oh, sorry, left back.
Left back, yeah.
Left back. O'Reilly has this. I don't know. Next, like if you go back and watch his goals, you would notice, like especially from crosses, it's like, where are the defenders? Like, how come nobody's marking this guy? And he's tall. Like, what do you mean? Somebody's 6 foot something, and he's just letting him run free into space like that.
No, absolutely. Well, thanks for clearing it up. I totally agree with everything that you're saying there as well. So, before we finish up on the finances, I want to kind of also ask you in terms of because I think this was also good for like ourselves as Newcastle fans to know is that if you look at, for instance, Arsenal's marketing and branding, some people joke about this, but I think the truth is, I think really it's a super great, how do I put it, like marketing genius really, in terms of how many different type of kits you release in a year and how much money that kind of earns you. And yes, obviously there's broadcasting, there's competition money, there's Champions League money, but Arsenal, the brand, is also super, super lucrative as well. And so it's not surprising. By the way, sorry, Wobojog, I think I can hear myself in your background. Have you got me on the laptop or something, or on a computer?
Yeah. Hold on then. Let me grab my hold on, give me a second. Let me grab my
Thank you, sir.
Headphones. Yeah.
I was just saying to folks that
I'll put myself on mute.
Yeah, do your thing. And so I was just saying to folks, especially, I know we debate a lot on here about, financial regulations, SCR, PSR, all these things. And that's a separate issue. But when you look, we talked about Tottenham earlier, when I was talking about Arsenal, Tottenham were going as far as selling paintings and stuff like that. But if you guys look at what Arsenal are doing, like the kits, the branding, numerous other stuff they do, how they connect to the culture here in London, musically as well, and TV shows and everything else, it's phenomenal. You were saying, Wobojog?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Okay. So yeah, the branding. The branding is actually it's not
much
really...
clearer. You're much clearer and much sharper as well. You're much clearer and much sharper as well.
So sorry about that, guys. So the branding is actually pretty. It's been going great in terms of branding and sponsorships. But I know we release a lot of kits, which is also good because at the end of the day, it's a London club. It's like Arsenal has this thing of like, it's a bit of a, and I know people bash us with it, but like a bit of a cultural club in a sense, right? We do have a bit of history about us in terms of like the
absolutely
and whatnot.
Absolutely.
And so the monetization is not really the collabs we do with other brands or like other creators. It's basically how do you appeal to more masses, right? So if I can appeal to the cool kids today, even like Arsenal was growing in terms of like quote unquote the culture or like the fashion as a fashion brand itself. It's not just a football club anymore. It's more of a fashion brand. Even when we weren't winning anything, we still had like the kids were like, oh yeah, I identify with. It was a bit of a hip thing going on for it. But actually, if you look at it, it's a corporate at the end of the day, just like any other corporate. But they managed to make their image into like, oh no, we're a cool brand. You can be be a part of this family and whatnot. And so the branding is something that I feel like clubs like, for example, like Newcastle as a club, you do have an angle I feel like you're not exploiting, which is basically try to lean into your local, how do I say this? Like, how, for example, I'm not sure, what's Newcastle like famous for, historically speaking? Is it like the mills? Is it like an industrial base sort of thing?
Yeah, so the steel factories, the shipyards,
Yeah.
working class town city. Yeah,
Yep. So there is an angle that I feel like Newcastle is not exploiting in that sense. I feel like branding wise, Newcastle can appeal
I agree.
to, you know what I
I
mean,
agree.
right? Like Aston Villa,
I
similar
agree.
way, and that would give
There's a
you a lot
story
of
to
headroom.
tell.
Yep. There's a huge every club. I don't want to say every club. Some clubs don't. Like Chelsea don't have a story. But like tradition, like these, especially like northern, I feel like northern or Midland clubs do have stories to tell, and they have huge communities that can reach out. Because I'm pretty sure not every person in Birmingham is an Aston Villa like diehard. Like imagine the number of fans they can actually attract locally. Forget about globally, just locally right now. Are they doing their best to quote unquote recruit and get everybody on board of their brand? Is that the
Mm,
same thing that's happening in, for example, in Newcastle or Sunderland,
mm.
your local rival essentially? And I feel like these clubs, I feel like Liverpool and Manchester City, they've managed to successfully quote unquote tell their stories, like
Yes,
Liverpool
yes,
scousers and whatnot.
yeah.
And and I feel like Newcastle would have a similar background, a similar story to tell, but for some reason your marketing team is not really doing a great job in that sense.
I agree. Fully agree.
And so for Arsenal, it helps a lot. We're in the capital. It helps a lot. Some of the history that we have, especially like with like the African American, not African American, sorry, like
That's the other side of the pond.
I know, it's kicking in right now. But like for example, the what is it called? Like the Black community, basically the history
Yeah.
behind it. So I think they leaned into it, and you can see this across different like brand messaging sometimes that we have, and it's not like as overt of like, oh yeah, we're like doing Black community messages or anything like that, but like more like we are a multicultural,
Well, did you?
diverse city.
Well,
Go
do you
ahead.
know where you got your kits? Where you got your kits and your branding from? I forgot the name of it, but it is like a really famous like urban wear designer, like literally from like his and he actually started doing it because he's an Arsenal fan, so he wasn't looking to do anything. Not that he wasn't making to do money out of it, but he literally is like a really famous urban designer. He said, "Look, this is I
Interesting.
love
I didn't know
Arsenal,
that.
and look,
No, I
that's
didn't know
where
that.
all your
Especially
incredible kits come from." And it's just
the yellow with the blue arrows.
exactly. That's why your kits are so kit. Like, honestly, that's
That
that's why
is,
they're such a kid.
it's such a
Honestly,
like a black coded kit. By the way, it's so cool. Actually,
look
yes, I see
into
what you
it.
mean.
Look into it, Wobojog.
Look
That
into
the
it. I didn't
history
know
of
that.
it is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. When I heard
So
that, I
yeah,
could not believe it.
it makes sense, doesn't it? Though.
100%. 100%.
Um,
100%.
so in general, I feel like our marketing has been great. And I'm not so like the kits and collab for like merchandise is fine. It's the deals that I care about is actually the like the Asahi deal, right? So the beer company, or basically the shirt sleeve
Right.
deal, like the deal company. Um, and we had the visit Rwanda one with all the the
Yes.
controversy along with it.
Yes.
But essentially,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um, we do try to organically grow that commercial side, which has always been one of our Achilles heels. Like compared to United, like I remember United get insane deals.
Yeah.
Like that
Yeah.
Chevrolet deal, or like AI, like
Yeah.
yeah, like because that you need that to be able to move around, to move forward and have a bigger budget, so you can get the better players, so you can demand more for your sponsorship around. It's like a self fulfilling. It's like a feedback loop that needs to start at some point.
100%. 100%. I like the fact that you mentioned obviously is you got part what gets the branding is being able to tell your story. And I think my worry
Yep.
already is sometimes you would have heard it me to complain about on our channel. I feel like sometimes even our own fan base forgets our own story, even just from the takeover and everything else that took us to get here. We forget
Yep.
our own story. It's just the most frustrating thing in the world. It's unbelievable. But
Like your
I
story,
might
I
have
don't want
to.
to, sorry, like to cut you off. I like this,
No, no,
like the
go on, go on,
story
go
of
on.
Newcastle to me. For me, like as somebody who does not follow Newcastle really like you guys, for
Yeah,
me, Newcastle has a message like it has a message angle of yes, life can be hard. Yes, sometimes things don't go the right way. yes, not everything things can go wrong horribly for you, but at the end of the day, you have to strive and you have to struggle and you have to grind to get to the finish line. Like that is
We can
such
be
a
like,
basic message.
we should get like David Goggins to do our adverts. Like, stay hard.
Like
you might get
David Goggins,
relegated today.
exactly. Like you have no idea what David Goggins can do to your I'm serious.
You might get relegated.
Like,
what are you gonna do? Cry, moan?
Moan? Exactly. Like imagine you do that at like a launch kit or something. Do you know what happens to your sales the day after? Because I'm pretty sure like a lot of people who live in Newcastle can relate to that
You've given me an
story,
idea.
right?
You've given You've given me an idea. You've given me an
Like,
idea.
like correct me if I'm mistaken, and I'm not very versed in like the economics in England right now, but I don't think like the northern side of England is as
The
prosperous.
northern is the poorest. Yeah.
Yes.
The northern is the poorest.
And so when you give the communities or the general people that feel of like, listen, your club can reflect you. At the end of the day, that's what we all want, right? The club to reflect the community that it's in. So if Newcastle essentially leans into the, listen, we don't play the fanciest football. We don't play the tiki-taka of these Spanish guys, basically. We play the hard football. We play the direct football because it's in our DNA to grind and work hard and just keep running up down the pitch. Sometimes we have owners like Mike Ashley who tank us, but at the end of the day, don't give up and try again and we come back. Like that's a simple story everybody, I'm pretty sure in the North can relate to at some level of like, you know what? I actually do kind of understand what that club is coming from.
Right. Exactly. You know, that's why I'm getting. Oh man, I might have to flood. I don't know who I'd email in Newcastle with all of these ideas and say, "Come on, man, like we can do better than this, man." Honestly, but
easiest dunk.
I agree. And Bobby Fairview, if he's listening, he would be saying the same thing. Cool. I didn't think I'd get into this tangent, but you sparked up so many ideas. So put it this way: Arsenal are in a super healthy position, and in fact, I did a little bit of a thought experiment. I'll go a little bit quicker through it, but essentially, what I wanted to know is, okay, Arsenal have 9. Say for instance, for the sake of argument, Arsenal have 9.9% headroom, SCR headroom in terms of going into this window. This is obviously before you've sold Trossard. This is before you even reach the Champions League final. So really, you probably have even more. But for the sake of argument, for people to get an idea, that we'll go with that. You know, you've got 60.1% within SCR, which means you've got 9.9% SCR headroom. And if you adjust that according to your 788 million revenue, goodness gracious, right? That will put you in a 78 million pounds additional squad cost revenue. So it doesn't mean that, for the folks that are hearing this, it doesn't mean that Arsenal have a 78 million pound budget. Like once they spend 70 million pounds on the player, it's they've already got 8 million pounds left. What that means is that what you can account for is obviously amortization, the player contracts. So if we break that down, going into the next part is, if you look at it like this, if you convert all of that, if for instance, if we take an example that Arsenal, purchase player or players, you take account into their player wages, the annual amortization. So if you buy a player for 50 million pounds over a 5-year contract, it's going to be 10 million per year over that, including wages of around 200k plus, which I assume, and you can correct me, Wobojog, is not too far from the average wage at Arsenal at the moment. And is it lower?
No, it's not. It's right about right.
Is it right about? Okay, so if you to take it around there, so if you look at it kind of in those kind of ways, Arsenal can probably spend around 200 to 250 million pounds on players before player sales alone. Before player sales, right? They've just sold Trossard, right? So this is the healthiest. Yeah, like this is even the healthiest. This is the healthiest of the healthiest I've seen so far from the teams I've covered. Now, obviously, I haven't covered City, I haven't covered Liverpool. I've covered Villa, Newcastle, Tottenham. There's a fourth team, Chelsea, right? But Arsenal's the fifth team I've covered. Oh, Brighton. Arsenal's the fifth team I've covered, and you are by far the healthiest. And I want to say this to you, Wobojog, and before I get your kind of, I want to get like your overall comprehensive thoughts on this. Is that what I liked about reading this and kind of figuring it out, kind of looking at with Arsenal is it's if I was to have what's the best way of putting it? If I was to build a revenue or like have something in my revenue, you'd want the ideal situation of you've got incredible branding. We talked about the story, the football kits, but you want to also have competition money. You won the Premier League, you're in the Champions League regularly, right? You're going far into domestic competitions. People forget you reached was the League Cup final or the FA Cup final? Which final did you meet? Was it the League Cup final, right?
Yeah, League Cup
So
final.
people forget how good Arsenal's season was. You reached the League Cup final, the Champions League Cup final, and you've won the Premier League. That's a phenomenal season. And you've got all that baked into your revenue. This is the best. This is like a reflective of what I'd want to see at Newcastle. We've looked at Brighton. Obviously, Brighton is a selling club. So it's player sales. It's a selling club based. It's revenues based on player sales, right? We've looked at Aston Villa. They're essentially paycheck to paycheck, right? Chelsea. Well, Bobby Fairview will tell you about Chelsea. They're on Bobby Madoff, Lehman Brothers. It's about to go bust type of situation, right? Man United did a little bit better, but they've got bills up the wazoo. But if you're looking at Arsenal in every aspect, in my point of view, looking at this, I'm like, wow, I wish my club, if there's anything to aim, and obviously there's Tottenham there, and Tottenham has got recent success with the cup, but this is nowhere near the level of what Arsenal have, in my opinion. Though it's probably the closest to out of all the teams I've described. So I want to put it to you, but I also want to add. I feel like, and we're going to talk about your squad in a moment, but I feel like Bobby Wobojog, that this is the platform from a financial point of view to build a dynasty. That's what I get from it. I read it, I saw it, and I said, "Oh, this is how you build dynasty." What's your thoughts?
Yeah, but we're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. I'm so sorry. Man, I know you're so excited.
I spent like 3 minutes giving you the layup, and you're like, "All right, cool, go on, tell me, man."
I'm sorry I had to do it, but like, I don't think we're gonna do it, man. Like dynasties. If we go through the history of the Premier League, how many dynasties do we have? 3, 4 maximum.
Yeah.
United, Liverpool, City. Who else had a dynasty? And then Liverpool back in the 80s, United in the early 2000s. City recently. Who else had like these kind of dynasties? Just 3 from top of my memory.
There's a fourth team, but I can't think of who it was. But yes, like 3 teams basically.
It's probably some Huddersfield, something back in 1800 something.
Right.
But like in general, like I know people speak about dynasties and put it lightly, like these things are not normal. This is not the norm. These are the aberrations or sort of like the anomalies throughout history that we have. This is not some Spanish league or German league. Dynasties don't happen here very often.
Would you say, sorry to interrupt you, Wobojog, but would you say, like, at least as a platform,
we are, like you said, everything you said is correct. Absolutely. We are in prime position to dominate this league for at least the next 5 to 6 years. Given especially if you look at so when you want to look at a dynasty, there are multiple things that you want to have. Multiple things have to fall in place for you. One is financial power and financial capabilities. Check. 2, stability within club structure. Check. And the third one is basically you have most of your squad and especially the spine and the important players, MVPs within your squad, are within their prime window. And so if you look at our players right now, so Rice, Saka, Saliba, and the majority of the important, like Odegaard, Havertz, all these guys are what we call is within the window of their prime years. Like this is the peak of their powers, and they all fall within the same window. It's not like we have a squad where we have a lot of players close to the 30 and then a lot of players close to the 20s and nothing in between. We actually have a well-distributed age squad profile. And so actually, and the MVPs within that squad fall within the prime window of their career, basically. And so technically, if we have a Luis Campos or we have another sporting director, I don't know, I can't think of another one, but Luis Campos, for example, and with the finances that we have, and we lower our risk tolerance and taste for it, be more adventurous with some of the signings that we do, especially towards the high end in terms of like expensive players, we should, and we are primed to like dominate. Like if we had Tiki from Man City, we would do wonders next 4 or 5 years. So yes, you're absolutely correct. I have zero faith in us in that happening right now. So there are two different things, right? Like I see where we are, and I don't have faith in where we're going. Just looking at the links. I don't know if you saw the links today, for example, like who we're linked to.
No. What's happened?
We're getting the Leeds. What's his name? The Leeds
goalie. The Messier. Yeah.
Oh my!
What happened to Kepa then?
Kepa has like a 5 million release clause.
Oh, who's going for it?
Somebody in like mid-table, probably. Somebody's going to go for him.
Okay.
And he probably wants game time, obviously. Fair enough.
Yeah, that's true. So that's true.
Kepa ended up with like a Champions League, a Premier League. Like I've never seen something so like.
And the thing is, like, he was bought for 75 million. People forget that.
I know.
He's one of the world's most expensive goalkeepers.
I do give him a pass because Chelsea is very good at ruining players and wrecking their confidence beyond belief.
True.
Like it took us a year to get Havertz back into like normal Havertz back Leverkusen days.
Yeah. And we're gonna go into the squad, but I do feel like I do get the sense that Havertz is underappreciated for Arsenal fans. Like it's unbelievable. I remember I can't remember if I was on the Football Terrace or somewhere, and we happened to look on Havertz's goal involvement. And at the time, he had like 37 goal involvements in 50 games. And I'm like, that's insane.
It was 40-something in 50-something games. So basically, almost every game, he has a goal or assist. Yeah, sometimes I feel like Arsenal fans deserve the last 20 years they had, and they probably deserve another 20 of them, the way they speak sometimes. It baffles me. It generally drives me up the wall.
I can't. Every content. Yeah, there's so you see the obviously I'm kind of more conscious of other content creators. If every time they're like, oh, Havertz, and I'm like, what, the guy that's got like 40 plus goal involvements for you? That's that Havertz.
You know who they don't rate? Here's an interesting fact, right? So most of the people are underrated in our team are Trossard, Merino, Havertz, and Odegaard. These are the people who are like genuinely.
Odegaard is criminal.
I don't.
How Odegaard gets treated is absolutely. It's
baffling.
It's criminal.
Did you watch the interview they did with Bruno G yesterday? Before yesterday, sorry. When they played Norway. Basically, the point was he was trying to say is like Norway is a very good team. We had our tactics, but we couldn't get the ball off of them because Odegaard was in quote unquote essentially was in the first phase and the second phase of ball progression. So we can't get the ball off of him. He's almost like functioning as a deep lying six playmaker essentially. Although in the team sheet he's positioned as
two phases, 1 and 2.
Exactly.
So he's yeah.
And so now I see people talking about Rodgers is here, so we should sell Odegaard. And I'm like, you genuinely deserve the pain of the last 20 years, and you probably deserve another 20. It's not even the same profile. It doesn't even solve the same problems that you need as a coach.
It causes you the problems. In terms of if you want to keep the ball, Rodgers isn't your guy. But anyway, we're going to get into your squad in a moment. Sorry, sorry about that. Just it's my fault. I had to find an Arsenal fan that was like,
You can tell I
Havertz,
have a lot
Odegaard.
of anger pent up, by the way.
We all do. Trust me, sometimes we all do. All right. So, just to conclude on the financial part, Arsenal are in an extraordinarily healthy financial situation. We use the Craig Cordell's research, obviously, and as Wobojog and myself kind of pointed out, there's an 8-9 lag. I would also say that you don't have the Champions League final, you don't have the Trossard sale.
One more thing.
I think, yeah, go on.
One more thing is it's an unknown at this point, and I'm hoping it's not a Liverpool situation. So in terms of finances, you know how Liverpool is always like reported to have very low wages? Or like you see like
because
for
of
example,
the bonuses,
in
they cover
general,
the
they have-
bonuses.
exactly. Like the model at the time for them was to have low wages but have insane bonuses for when you win the league or the Champions League and whatnot. And I hope that is not the case with us over here, because if we have a similar situation where we have Saka end up with like a 20% bump up because of winning the league, like that will eat up into the budget of what can we do this summer. And so I'm hoping that's the reason why we're paying high salaries to start off with. So Saka is on like 300 something. Usually these numbers are not true. Saka is probably like on total compensation for him probably would be like something across 400. Most of these players, when I see like, oh, Haaland is on like 400, no, Haaland is on like probably 600 or 700 a week. Like if you actually count everything together, the wages that we see and reported are usually a little bit higher because there's like image rights, there's multiple things, there are like articles within these contracts. The wages are not as straightforward as we get reported or like we see it on our end over here. So I'm hoping the bonuses are not high, or at least as high. I'm expecting obviously our overall wage bill to go up, but I'm hoping it's something like 10%. Hope it's nothing more than that, 15% tops, because anything beyond that, it will eat significantly into our how much can we do in the summer, especially that we won the league. Like that's the other side that people need to consider.
And that's an important caveat. That is an important caveat to remember, for sure. And that's part of the conclusion. And for folks to remember, we kind of hypothesized that it's about 9.9% financial headroom. I would say you can stretch that over to maybe 13, 14% if you include the Champions League, if you include even the League Cup final. And it's not going to be as much, but it's there. The Premier League winners and everything else that comes. They haven't played the Super Cup yet. That's gonna come as well. So plenty of room there. But you've also got extremely exuberant wages, possibly, or maybe not. Depends how it goes. So, but otherwise, if you compare it to, as I've said, I like everything that's baked into Arsenal's revenue because it shows that if you look at it, if you read, they say you can tell a lot about a person when you look at their bills. What they, or their credit cards, or what they pay for. And Arsenal's got competition money, it's got brand money, it's got stories, it's got everything in it. So I think it's been, in my opinion, certainly been the most impressive one. So there's, even if we don't, there's a very low chance of Arsenal building a dynasty. I think we both agree that there's a platform, certainly from a financial point of view, to be able to achieve that as well. And obviously the standing of Arsenal Football Club in the world gives you the opportunity to do that. All right. So with that being said, let's look at your let's do a bit of squad analysis. And for the folks to know in the show, I want to first say to folks, as I'm doing these squad analysis, it's a good thing, but it's also problematic, which is I'm getting better and better, which means whatever I was doing before, it was good, but it's even, so what I've done for Arsenal is better than what I did for Chelsea, but not because I didn't want to do it better. You learn and you discover new things. So like, for instance, when I did the show with Bobby Fairview, and we're looking at like percentiles for Garnacho, which were through the roof. And Bobby Fairview said to me, maybe you should consider weighting the percentile or the metrics to the minutes, and things change. And they do change, right? When you're kind of analyzing squad. So if for this part, we broke it down into 3 points, and this is called the SQI, the Squad Quality Index. I have no idea if I've just invented something new or something that's already been happening for years. I haven't got any clue about that, but it's certainly very, very good. Essentially, folks, it breaks down into 3 different steps where we're going to be looking at Arsenal's on the front face in terms of squad quality. So the best phrase I could put it on is the team that you see on paper, right? Before you do anything in depth, what's the quality of the team on paper? Then we're going to look at kind of what's actually put out on the field, what's the quality that's been delivered out on the field, before we also look at the depth and resilience. So what is this kind of looking at, what is the kind of, if you can say, the fall off or the drop off in terms of when that squad gets rotated, and that gives a well-rounded, comprehensive view of where Arsenal squad is at this current basis. And I'll be able to ask Wobojog at the end in terms of where he hopes Arsenal make additions, or where he sees gaps and where he thinks Arsenal need to make additions in terms of their squad going forward. All right, so let me get into it. I've actually got myself thing a little bit backwards here. So oh goodness gracious. Let me do this. I've got the wrong slides here, but let me start with part one once I find it. I'll get there. I will get there. I might have to put on my actual PowerPoint on. Guys will remember when I first started, no one told me about using PDFs. So I had to just use the PowerPoint. But that's okay. The main thing is that you can see it.
You're moving like Newcastle transfer team.
All over the place. I thought I had it, and then I didn't double check it when I did it, which is not good. But
that's
main
what they
thing
said
is
about all
that
the players they wanted to sign. That's what they said about Munoz.
We did the Dennis. Yeah, exactly. We did the Dennis Wise scouting there. Where's my thing? That's so annoying. Because I wanted to. Because there's a part one, part two. There's the part two. Yeah, it is. It is a little bit all over the place, but it is there. That's the main thing. So we'll do it from here. But the main thing, it is there. So let me just do this. But if I was to ask you, Wobojog, while I'm getting this together, what's your kind of main aims? What are your kind of expectations from Arsenal going into this transfer window? Because you're in a good situation, i.e., you're Premier League winners, but you're also in the tricky situation where you've gone from being the hunter to the one that's being hunted. And you've got to find a way as Premier League champions, right, to maintain your position at the top of the Premier League, to defend your crown and all the trappings that come with that. So I guess what I'm saying is, as you enter when you're looking to enter back into the Premier League season, you want to have a squad that says to everybody, we're here, Arsenal Football Club is here to defend our crown, right?
Yep.
I don't know if you see it like that, but also, how do you think in that kind of scenario, in that sort of case, how should Arsenal approach this summer window?
These are separate questions, completely different ones. How should Arsenal move and how Arsenal would probably move?
Yes.
These are so how Arsenal should move is the following. We have to look at our squad as it is right now. And we have to examine, okay, so the level of physicality in the Premier League is going up. And I mean that in the sense of the league is becoming more man-to-man marking. It's becoming more physical in terms of sprints, number of sprints, length of sprints. You need a quality depth. You can't just have depth in numbers. It makes no sense, especially at that position, especially like the top four teams. They need quality depth, not just regular depth. And so if we actually review our squad right now, where do we have issues? Saka is not fit. Like Bukayo, my man, is not been fit for the past 2 years. He needs rest. He is being run into the ground. Odegaard, ever since back from his injury, two things are happening, I think, at the same time. We keep forgetting that these players are not human beings. are human beings. We keep thinking that they're not. These people have families. Like, for example, Odegaard had his injury and then he had a kid. Like, genuinely having a kid changes your level of performance. And people don't realize this. Like, if you are a midfielder, especially like cerebral players, if you have a kid, especially like a newborn, it will keep you up for quite some time. And I know people are going to mock it and people are going to make fun of it. But like, genuinely, like, when as a human being, if you have a kid, it's going to affect you even at work. Forget about footballers who are like working at like the margins of like the top of the top of the top of human physicality, right? So Odegaard had injuries. It's so obvious last season he was playing and trying to avoid any further injuries because he had the World Cup in his mind. And so he had this sort of balancing act between how much can I exert myself and avoid getting injured, and how much do I need to give to the team to get them across the finish line. I don't think he was giving 100%. Obviously, I'm not making any comment on his commitment. He's at the end of the day, the guy's a captain. You don't become a captain of a top club in England if you don't have the mentality to be one, right? And I know I make fun of like Chelsea and like Tottenham and like United, and even like in general, like just the Premier League clubs. To be a captain of one of these clubs, you have to have something about you. It doesn't just fall on your lap, right? We've seen what a captaincy done to players like Harry Maguire, right? Like at United, it crushed him. Like, you have to be a certain type of human being to be able to be a captain, to face criticism and not let it phase you, and like just keep going and chugging along. And like, not only that for you, but you have to like motivate everybody else around you as well. And so Odegaard, he's and then he had niggles. So all these things happen together. I'm hoping next season he will be a bit more freer, less afraid of getting injured again. And so we'll see a better Odegaard, the 2023 Odegaard again. So Saka, not fit. Odegaard, have some questions about his fitness and being afraid of getting injured again. Hopefully that's not the case next year. And then we have our MVP, essentially, of the team, of the club right now. Rice has a nerve issue in his hamstring. The guy is being run into the ground. And we can't rotate him because we don't have the right profiles to rotate him. Like, I understand we have to rotate these players, but like, yeah, it doesn't make sense. Like, I can't rotate you with anybody. You have to be the right profile in the right place. And so Rice and Saka cannot play more than 70% of next season of the games. They physically will not be able to. Otherwise, they will genuinely break down. Like, that's it for them. Then you have Saliba, who has back issues, and he's probably have to go get the surgery before the season starts. Who else is also fitness issues that we have? Ben White, recurring soft tissue issues as well for him. And so these are fitness-wise. Then you have selling Trossard as well. And so when you look at these things, I see you have them over there, top performers. Then you have, so when you look at these issues, you have to think in mind, okay, so in terms of Rice, I need to get in there a profile that is similar to him. That's why I'm against the whole Bruno G purchase. I understand Bruno G is a great player. There's no doubt about it. Not a single thing can be said about him. But he does not solve the Rice problem. Like, if Rice is out and Bruno G plays, okay, he's not going to do the same things Rice does. So we are going to have to change the way we play completely in the midfield to be able to get Bruno G in as a replacement, quote unquote, for Rice, or at least to share minutes with him, or to play alongside him. But even Bruno G, you don't expect Bruno G to play 100% of the minutes of next season. And so we need a, quote unquote, almost a one-to-one way, like subs. So for me, that's why I think Buadi is the most important signing for us this season, or somebody of that profile. I'm not hung up, like, I know people are throwing around the generational thing, but Buadi just showed up. Next year, somebody else will, and the year after, somebody else will again. We're not going to run out of talent. But essentially, for this season, I would love for us to get Buadi, because he's such a similar profile in terms of what he can do physically to Rice. He can be an understudy for him. He can take, quote unquote, with all respect, obviously, like the bottom maybe 5 teams or bottom 7 teams to start those games, play the league games as well, to just take minutes off of Rice. We have Norgard is leaving and Trossard is leaving. He's out of the way right now. And so we're already short if we get Buadi, then our midfield stays as is. If we sell Martinelli, we sold Trossard already, so we need to get another left midfielder. Left wing, sorry. And I don't know who are we going for. I'm not happy with not very excited with the names that I'm seeing right now, like Solis from Club Rouge. Okay, fine. He's not exactly what, like, that's why I see Rogers going as left winger. Actually, I don't see Rogers coming into playing midfield. But then again, why am I buying Rogers if we have Eze already? Like, you're buying a younger Eze. If you actually look at the profiles, people have this weird fantasy of Rogers coming in to replace Odegaard. It's not going to happen. Actually, I can share with you a slide from, or you probably can find it on his account if you have a minute. It basically goes over the profile, the difference in profile, and the difference between Odegaard and Rogers if you place them in the midfield, and you can see.
Do you know?
How
Yeah, go on.
Odegaard is. How superior Odegaard is as a midfielder to Rogers.
Do you know? And we're going to get into it now. I see Rogers actually as your going into your striker department next to Eucharist. I have a feeling that he might be going into your striker department, and I'll kind of stroke false nine type of situation. And I'll get into it. So as I was saying to folks as well, and you make a very, very good point. There's a lot of things that you've already touched upon, but I want to kind of, I'm gonna marry to what you were saying. So I was saying to folks, we've broken down Arsenal's squad quality in 3 parts. Where we're looking at the first part here, which is the part 1, the potential quality. So how good is Arsenal's squad on paper? So this is new. This is the scores of Arsenal. The talent level in each position, a goalkeeper, from goalkeeper, centre back, full back, or wing backs, to midfielders, to wide forwards, to strikers. This is the talent level of Arsenal in each position before considering minutes and rotation. So we're looking at quality on paper. And if you're wondering how I got this, you guys know, if you don't already know, if you might be new to the channel, I use Data MB to get my metrics for these parts. Obviously, you guys can see which player is this. This is Manzambi we're looking at. And so what Data MB are very, very good at is to give you the percentile quality metrics for each player. Obviously, the metrics that are being measured for each position are different. So obviously, Manzambi, for instance, in this example, is an attacking midfielder. So you're looking at things like possession 1, full pass, and everything else, key pass. You can imagine if we're looking at defenders, you're looking at dual. You've got dual percentage wins there, but you've got like defending and stuff like that. So what I've done is to collect these for Arsenal, as I did for all the other teams, and to get and put all these. So if I got Arsenal's midfielders, I put all Arsenal midfielders together, and what I've asked AI to do is to give me the average percentile for each and every position, and we get kind of the overall squad quality. Now, the first part, as I mentioned, folks, is what you have on paper. So obviously, this isn't the crystallized form of Arsenal. So after 50 games, this is not what Arsenal squad and team looks like, right? But we're looking at what this quality is on paper before the minutes and before the rotations. And I have to say, first of all, Wobojog, and for folks to remember, is with Data MB, for instance, they measure individual players in their respective league. So this is the quality in the Premier League and those that have played 1,000 minutes or more. So if you've played less than 1,000 minutes, you're not necessarily included in this. Hence why when we're measuring goalkeepers, for instance, obviously Arsenal got 2 goalkeepers, but because Kepa hasn't played more than 1,000 minutes, he's not included. It's Raya. And also, if you're thinking, well, what does 78 mean? What does 79 mean? What does 59 mean? Where does that rank? On the bottom right hand of the screen, you can see where the potential quality score guide. So if we start from the top, any percentile that's 90 plus, essentially you're world class, like you're legendary, you're world class, right? Anything from 80 to 89 is elite. Anything from 70 to 79 is, very, very strong, Champions League strong. Then 60 to 69, strong, so Premier League competitive. And obviously there's varying degrees of how competitive. Then it's 50 to 59 as average, as well as minus 50 as being weak. Now, for you, Wobojog, for Arsenal, the strongest department appears to be, unsurprisingly, obviously, is your centre backs and your goalkeeper. And not too far behind are your wing backs. And then your wide forwards with a drop in your midfielders and your strikers. Obviously, this is on paper. This is the potential talent. What's your kind of initial thoughts on this? Do you feel like it's fairly accurate, or would you put one area higher than the other? And if it is accurate, or does it kind of fit in with what you were saying about where the potential gaps are? Obviously, we're going to have a little bit more information on that as we go along. But what's your kind of initial thoughts?
I agree with all of that actually. I didn't mention the strikers earlier because the fridge we have up front, I don't count him. I don't consider he works for us. No, I'm being unfair. No, Gyökeres has been a good signing, to be honest. And like in the aggregate, he's done the things that I expected him to do. He did not blow me off in terms of like, oh my God, what have we landed? And he's not an absolute like what's his name? The guy from Chelsea.
Liam Delap, my favorite striker.
No, he's not a Delap. He's not a Delap. He's not a Delap Pro Max.
Ooh, Wobojo, can I add? Sorry, can I add something to this?
Sure, go ahead.
And this is only for the striker part. So it measures striker, but it couldn't measure Havertz because he hadn't played over 1,000 minutes in the Premier League. But the player that it did measure in the striking department was Mikel Merino.
Yeah.
So it's measured Mikel Merino Gyökeres. So I just wanted to add that. Sorry, go on.
So yes, I think this is actually correct. And you can see with Declan Rice, like the guy played every single minute for us last season. Like it's unbelievable, this guy physically. But again, it's a double-edged sword, right? If you are that available, Arteta will break you. This is what he did to Havertz. And it's not because he broke him because that's what he wants. He's a safe manager. He's a young manager. He's not experienced. Hopefully now he is. And he knows how to rotate the players a little bit better. But he did not have the options. I genuinely think he did not have the options. It's the same reason why Havertz broke down the 2 seasons ago for us, because he did not have an alternative. Because Jesus one kneecap guy, he's not available for us. He has this. I call him Jesus one kneecap because his other knee is not just functioning at all. So that's why we had to play Havertz all the time, and he broke down eventually. And I fear for Rice is the same way. And Rice is like at the peak of his powers right now. I really don't want him to play more than 70% of the games, 70% of the minutes next season. I want him to be there fresh for the big games and the important games where he has to keep running back and forth to cover space and cover passing lanes and whatnot. And so for Gyökeres as well, I'm glad he did what he did. I'm not expecting more from him. At the end of the day, it's not fair to ask more of the guy. It is what it is. We have to figure out a way to move him on eventually at some point and get somebody in his place. But I don't know, we're not talking transfers right now. But in general, yes, this agrees predominantly with my view of where the club has been last season, at least.
Excellent. Again, I'm throwing a fist pump to say, okay, we're on the right track with these. I wanted to also add, and we've kind of spoken it before, this, and you mentioned minutes. Arsenal did, I should have had it here, but I can't see it. Hopefully I'll see it in the next ones. But Arsenal played plus 60,000 minutes overall this season. If you include, and you're thinking, how did they play 60,000 minutes? Remember, they made the Champions League final. They won the Premier League. They made the League Cup final. I think you made it to the quarterfinal of the FA Cup. That's how you end up playing 60,000 plus minutes in the league. By far, more than any other team that I've covered so far. Obviously, I haven't covered City and Liverpool just yet, but I think Arsenal would have. It's going to be close to City because they played both finals in the domestic cup. So I'm sure Arsenal probably.
But they were kicked out of the UCL pretty early, though, right? They got kicked out of the UCL.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. But you were kicked out early out of the FA Cup.
I think was it the semi-final or quarterfinal?
Quarterfinal.
But like 2 games, I think. Yeah, quarterfinal. Oh yeah, you know what? You're right. Probably, maybe.
It's going to be tight.
Yeah,
it's going to be tight. It's going to be tight, but it's a lot of minutes. Right. So the second part. This is the part. Part 2. So the delivered quality. How much quality did Arsenal actually get. And you can see, yes, sorry, 62. Arsenal played 62,000. Arsenal squad, excuse me, played 57 matches. That's 62,386 minutes spread over 22 players. That is insane, right? And Arsenal delivered. So 80% of Arsenal's squad delivered was available for potential quality over the season. So essentially, what this is, when we're talking about delivered qualities, is Arsenal's fielded are high quality players in key areas most of the time. Obviously, there's been injuries, and it's annoying, Wobojog, but where I get my injuries from is from transfer market, but it's gone dodgy. Like the site, I can't get the. Usually I got a graphic for it, but I couldn't get it. So you can fill us in on some of the injuries. I know obviously Saka was away for a little bit, but essentially, injuries and rotations caused. So excuse me, Arsenal fielded high quality players in key areas most of the time, but injuries and rotations cause a natural drop in delivered quality compared to the squad's full potential. So that's key areas that were impacted were the midfield and the striker department. So this is the players that were available in different areas in the league. So this is the quality. So we saw the quality that's on paper, and now we're seeing the actual quality that Arsenal were able to deliver. Over the course of the season, and obviously, thankfully, you had consistency in your goalkeeping department with Raya, who was available pretty much all the time. Fairly good consistency, or at least second to best in terms of your in terms of your centre backs. And then some drop off in terms of your midfielders. And then pretty much equal amongst your forwards, your strikers, and your wing and your fullbacks or wing backs. So pretty much,
How are the
it's been
fullbacks
spread.
so? How come is
Go
our
on, go on.
fullbacks? They're the quality of the full. Actually, I feel like our fullbacks they've been great for us.
Yeah, so it's measuring the percentile quality. So I think it's actually, I actually think your fullbacks are pretty good because you've got Ewan Timber, I think it was Skelly, Ewan Timber, Ben White. I forgot who the other gentleman
Calafiori and
is.
Hincapié. Hincapié and
Calafiori and
Calafiori.
Hincapié. Yeah. I want to say
Skelly doesn't
Hincapié.
count. Skelly, I don't remember Skelly playing a lot of minutes in left back last season.
Yeah. So
actually,
so let me double check.
Skelly was
I've
out
got you.
after. I remember he even said it in his
So
interview
this is
after. Go ahead.
so the minutes so the players that in your fullbacks that were counted was by Data and B. Obviously, these are players that played in the Premier League, played 1,000 minutes or more. Was 3 out of the fullbacks. So it's Calafiori, Timber, and Hincapié. So Skelly wasn't included. You're right, because Calafiori played 1,800 minutes, 74 minutes. Timber played 2,738 minutes, and Hincapié played exactly 2,000 minutes in the Premier League alone. So those are the fullbacks that were counted. When we're looking at the quality, that's why you might see it how it is. Let me show on screen to the folks as well. So yeah, so that's how it looks. You was a bit surprised by what you saw in terms of the quality there, isn't it?
Yeah, because I was like, I remember our fullbacks, like our defensive line and goalkeeper, that was like the bedrock for us last season. And
Right.
I know Skelly did not play a lot of minutes, especially after I think November, December, only show up at the end of the year, because it turns out in training, Arteta moved him from training at left back and training specifically and only as a 6 in midfield. He's basically moving him into that position. I'm expecting to see a lot of Lewis Skelly in midfield next year, starting position actually, and not being like a left back and then moving into space.
Right.
And I know our most consistent fullback last season has been, I think he's the one that played the most minutes, I think, as well. You just mentioned it, is Hincapié. Timber has been great, but he got injured. And Calafiori is great, even better, but he also got injured. And so, yep.
So these are the fullbacks that was able to cover as well. Obviously, the Calafiori, Timber, and Hincapié. What was interesting about it, Wobojog, I wanted to get your take on this, is that, and I think this is more to do with how Arsenal play, because literally for all 3, crosses, assists, progressive passes, carrying, are fairly average to low, but aerial duels, defensive duels, possession one is, either very good or to elite levels.
Yeah, that's what you need for Paella, David Moyes.
Right.
You think this is Pep team? No?
Exactly. I should have known.
This
So
is
maybe
this
that's
is
why.
this is Everton on steroids, basically.
But well, this is why you was wondering about the quality a little bit. Obviously, there's three rather than
Yeah.
4 fullbacks,
Yeah,
but
it
also
makes sense now.
those other areas, obviously, it makes sense, isn't it? How?
Yeah, I'm too closed into my own way of playing. I was like, yeah, he's doing great. I really want more from him. But like that, yes, fullbacks can do other things as well. I forgot. Bit Arteta-fied, man. Arteta-fied.
So when you look at it that way, it actually makes sense. But they're good at the things that you need to be good at as a defender, which is actually defending.
Yep.
Right?
But I keep in mind, like all these players are center backs. These are not fullbacks. Like every single player in our back four, these are all center backs. None of them is traditional fullback before they came to us. Even Hinkler, he was a left center back in a back three in Leverkusen. Calafiori did the same thing. Timber was a center back. Like none of that. We don't have a fullback. Like even White at the beginning when we got him, he was a center back, then moved right back. And may long it continue.
These are can you see the screen?
Yep.
So these are the centre midfielders that were measured. Zubimendi, Declan Rice, Ødegaard, Eze, right? In terms of
look at kind of Zubimendi minutes. Oh my God. This guy came from the mountains of the Basque region. The guy was playing low tempo in Spain, not as physical. And you give him this cold shower of the Premier League, right? Like, keep in mind, he played more minutes, I think, in Arsenal. By the time it was like the 25th or the 26th game week, he played already more minutes than he played last year in Spain. And not only that, but also, like I said, and I keep repeating it again and again, the Premier League is a different beast in terms of physicality requirements. Like you have to be an athletic freak to survive in this league. And so for like the drop off at the end, like the last quarter of the season, you can see it from a mile away. Like people forget like how Rodri was first season he came to the Premier League. Like he could not cope up with like the physicality of the league initially, and he was like, I remember even like City fans, they wanted him to be sold. Like, who is this guy? But then lo and behold, he got used to it, and you have essentially the best midfielder ever in the Premier League at the time, like number 6. I'm expecting Zubimendi next year to be great for us again. I really hope he does. Thanks for the pumping Tottenham first twice, but like other than that, I'm not seeing much.
He's got a lot, and maybe that's why you are looking at Mr. And like I said, I think Rodgers is more towards the striker end, but you're right. Out of all of them, he's got the lowest, and the areas where you'd want him to be really good: key passes, I'd assume, progressive passes, ball carrying, right? He's just about higher than Zubimendi in ball carrying, right? Where you expect to be in the elite levels with Ødegaard and with Rice. So it's Ødegaard and Rice. Ødegaard who gets so much stick from we talked about earlier, Arsenal fans. But Ødegaard and Rice are in your elite ball carriers, your elite forward passers. Ødegaard by himself is absolutely beyond breaking the roof of elite for key passes. That's passes that are leading to shots and goal.
No, but he passes only backwards, man. He's not. We should tell him.
And he only passes. That's why progressive passes are elite as well. Sideman. He's a sideman. You should join sideman because he's
Rice as well. Rice is not a great midfielder. He just tackles and he passes sideways. He doesn't have any forward passes. Like people just
exactly,
man.
Exactly. So these are the guys. So it's Ødegaard and Declan Rice. Well, Zubimendi, despite troubles, he's the elite one when it comes to dual percentage winning, and he's got your forward passes there. Forward passes are pretty good. So he's really tried, right? He can only get better.
He can't do the carrying. I don't expect him to do the carrying as much for two reasons. His profile is not for the carrying predominantly, and also the position.
No, and you don't want him to do it.
No,
that's why you got Erdegaard. That's why you got Erdegaard and
Rice for that.
what do you call it? Rice for, right? So like, oh yeah, Rogers comes, we sell Erdegaard. Or do you guys want that problem? There's going to be a problem if you do that.
Then we have all carriers, a bunch of carriers in our team.
So is this making, because I guess I should include those kind of the specifics in the data MV. But like now that you've seen like the backgrounds of it, where we've got, does it make more sense? Like in terms of, oh, okay, that's why the midfield is like that, or that's why the fullbacks are like that.
It also shows why Rice is our top performer, right? Like if you look at the other profiles and you look at the number of minutes, his contributions, his radar, like that, it makes sense why Rice is our top performer in that department.
Absolutely. So those are the guys that delivered you guys the title and everything else. You can see some stand-up performance. Obviously, your top performers in goal is obviously Raya. Defense is Saliba. Fullbacks is Urin Timber. Midfield, Declan Rice. I would say very closely followed by Erdegaard. Wide forwards, Saka. And strikers is Mr. Eucharist by default almost. That's unfair. But so your overall quality that you was able to deliver with the rotations, it puts you in a 62 percentile, essentially pretty much a very good team in the Premier League. Why I personally don't mind that, if I was an Arsenal fan, is because you've done very well across all four competitions. And you're still high, despite all of that, you're still higher even the teams that I've covered. So obviously I've covered City and Liverpool, but I'm not expecting too much from Liverpool. But you're still head and shoulders above everybody else in that.
We essentially leaned on what we're good at, right? We leaned on what we're good at. We did not pretend to be something that we're not. We have a great depth backline and a great goalkeeper that, yes, he doesn't look like he's doing much, but he's actually saving the team a lot of, like, the difference between, for example, Raya and Ramsdale, for example, is Raya protects the team from finding itself in positions that introduces new risk, right? Or like chances to concede goals. So, for example, he's claiming how high he plays. So I know we see Raya for a lot of the flashy moments where he does these like cat jumps to save the goal from us conceding, but it's actually most of the work and his value come from these other things that he does that doesn't look as flashy, or people just don't notice it because it genuinely protects the team from finding itself in a position where it could be a lot riskier than what it looks like, right? So the way you, instead of claiming and waiting for, like for example, the difference between Ramsdale and Raya has better claiming, whereas Ramsdale maybe is a better shot stopper, but if there is a cross coming in, Raya would claim the ball, and everybody's like, "Yeah, okay, fine. This is boring. This was not a great cross, but it was a great cross." If Ramsdale was a goalie, he would not jump to claim it, and he would wait for the striker to hit it in. And so, like, so it's good. I'm happy that we leaned on where we're good at, and hopefully that's not the case next season in terms of like we're good at just defending. I hope we're good at other things as well.
Now that I've experienced Ramsdale in the flesh, I fully concur with that. And you mentioned you did what you're good at. And as I'm covering these teams, we're still going to go forward, but as I'm covering these teams, Wobojog, every team, what I realize is that pretty much, and you kind of alluded to it at the beginning, the Premier League is tough. You got the top of the 1% of the 1% playing in this league, right? And so what you're finding, because the margins are very, very close. And what I'm, like I said, like when I did like the overall quality for most teams, Arsenal 62, right? But you know, the other teams are around 57, 58. Do you know what I mean? And so it's not like 10 percentile quality, 15 percentile quality. With everything going on, with the competitions, with the rotating of the squads, all of this evens out. And what happens is that, like you said, Wobojog, you have to have things that you can rely on. Villa, and I'll end it on this, for instance, when I did Villa, I don't know if you saw it, but the thing that they really, really relied on was Rodgers, Rodgers and Watkins. Rodgers played 4,500 minutes for them in all
He's a machine.
competitions. Machine, goals, assists. Obviously Watkins, and Villa aren't like a beautiful football type of team. They're not ugly football, but they're not beautiful football. But they
No.
did what they were
Honestly,
good at.
there's no ugly football. I hate this term of ugly and beautiful football. Pep kind of ruined this for us, and people
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
the only right way of playing. Like there's
Exactly.
different schools of playing football. They're all in my eye. For me, I can enjoy all of them equally. Yeah, I can
Exactly.
have a preference,
But
you should be able to enjoy every kind of football, man.
exactly. But they had the X factor of players, which has obviously been able to score outside the box, or got people so scared that they can score outside the box that you had defenders stepping out, they can slide, and then therefore it allowed the likes of Rodgers and others to slip other players in to get goals from the back as well. So you had those X factor players. Man United had Bruno Fernandes. if you're asking,
Can you
what made
imagine?
Man United?
Do you remember when they wanted to sell him the season?
If
like,
they
last summer,
sold
wanted him.
if they sold Bruno, their whole squad their whole season looks super duper different. So when I'm covering these teams, like I said, is that what you said? The league is tough. You got to rotate your players. You got to have some things that you're good at.
Have you seen that Athletic? Is it Athletic article or Data Mob infograph? Basically comparing the strength of different leagues across Europe, and why the Premier League is rated as the highest quality and the toughest one out of all of the others, even though the other leagues can have the one or two teams that are, in absolute terms, are better than all the teams in the Premier League. Have you seen that infograph?
No, I haven't seen it. No, I haven't seen it.
Anyway,
what did it say?
I don't. So essentially, basically, it's a comparison between the Premier League and the other leagues, and they're trying to figure out which league is the quote unquote is the strongest and the most competitive. And the Premier League came out with flying colors, because what they found was the average, the actual average of the strength of the clubs within. For example, in Spain you have Real Madrid and Barcelona. In France you have PSG, and in Germany you have Bayern. And these teams, if they come to the Premier League, they will finish first or second or third max. Right? They will not drop below that. And I think PSG is rated probably higher than most of the English Premier Leagues, and Bayern the same thing. But the difference between these leagues and the Premier League is the clubs between 4th to like 15th are at such a high level compared to the other leagues in terms of like their 4th to 15th. And so what you have is if you actually look at the graph or like the data points, the Premier League is more compressed in terms of like strength, and the teams are actually closer to each other. That's why you can lose to Leeds, in their stadium away or home. It's a normal thing. This is not some like shock result. Like you can lose to any team in the Premier League because the teams are actually genuinely stronger, and that's why the Premier League has more viewers. That's why people watch it, because it's more competitive. It's boring watching PSG win the league with their third C squad, and Germany because same thing.
Did you know, for instance, Kvaratskhelia, if you look at his minutes in the Ligue 1, he played like 1,200 minutes in Ligue 1. Kvaratskhelia.
Did you know that Moses Caicedo played more minutes than Vitinha and Joao Neves combined? This is how insane it is.
Can you imagine Saka, if he's fit, only playing 1,200 minutes in the Premier League because you're saving him for the Champions League? Do you think you're winning the Premier League?
Good luck with that, man. Good luck surviving.
Good luck with that. Good luck with that. That's exactly it.
I don't know how we're going to solve that problem, to be honest.
We've got to enjoy it while it's here. I'll tell you that. So this is the third part.
Slides, by the way, every now and then.
No. You're here to provide the depth. That's what you're here for. You're here to provide the depth, the analysis. Otherwise, I just might as well be talking to myself. So we did the part one. Obviously, we looked at the Arsenal squad on paper, before the squad rotations, before the minutes, before anything. What does a squad look like on paper? Then we looked at part two, which is the delivered quality in terms of who was actually available and what was Arsenal able to put out there. So the initial kind of squad overall potential that Arsenal can reach at its full potential, this squad is at the 71 percentile. So it's very much a Champions League worthy team. And we know that because they literally got to the final of the Champions League where they were only a penalty kick away from winning the Champions League itself. But what they were able to deliver overall, in particular in the Premier League, because they're stretched over 4 different leagues, they had to rotate in minutes and everything else, was 62 percentile, which is pretty much still a very good team. And as we kind of discussed with Wobojog, the league being compressed, it's been so tough. This team was still able to win the Premier League, doing the things that it's good at, having key players in each position. We talked about Declan Rice, Raya, Saliba, and others, being able to get them over the line. So the third part, we're looking at the depth, the actual depth and resilience. So how far does the quality hold when those starters are replaced? That's what we wanted to understand with Arsenal. So we want to be able to see essentially what is the drop off where in terms of if when the stars are not available, and you can already see right from the beginning, Wobojog, that you really just went from 62 percentile to 61 percentile in terms of from what we had in part 2 to part 1. And I want to put it to you. Oh no, 71 was.
Sorry, my bad. The overall potential
for the first one. Yeah. And then you wanted to deliver quality. And what I wanted to say, and I thought of it just now, you let that 1 point drop off, right? And you can see here, obviously, goalkeeper Raya is available most of the time, so it's always strong. Centre backs are really, really good. Fullbacks are moderate in terms of drop off. Then it goes a little bit lower for the midfielders, where I think a lot of the work is going to come in the transfer window. You talked about it. Then you had the wide forwards, and then when you got really dangerous, is in the striking department. We'll get into that in a moment. But what I want to say to you, Wobojog, is Arteta gets a lot of stick, and I think he got a lot of stick in the summer transfer window before this one. That why is he getting? How many defenders does he need? How many fullbacks does he need?
Well, not enough. We're not getting enough.
No, the answer is not in the answer. That's and you know what? I'm not saying I'm Mr. Know-it-all at all, but I was thinking that's how you build a squad.
Yeah.
That's
like
how.
You
do you know what I would do?
Yeah.
Go on.
Imagine having Mascara and Hincapi at your bench.
Right.
Like if everybody's fit, Mascara, Hincapi, and White are holding bench. Actually, probably one of Mascara or Hincapi is not even going to be in bench because we can't.
Do you know what I want to do, Wobojog? Sorry to interrupt you, but I wanted to add this to what you're saying. I would go this far after studying Chelsea, for instance. I don't want to pick on Chelsea, but I want to give an example here.
I want Chimpong from Chelsea. We should buy Chimpong from Chelsea.
Because no, I know.
You know what I mean? Right? You see, this is Arteta and me. Like, Chimpong, like, how are you doing?
Yeah.
You like it over there?
But you mentioned.
Is it nice to Chelsea?
Oh man, talented boy. But you mentioned Hincapi and Mosquera, right? Yeah. I'll go this far. I would say that they would be in Chelsea's starting centre backs and fullbacks.
Most definitely.
And people would like to hear this. Maybe some people would like to. I don't see it to push the envelope or anything like that. But when you see that what's happened here? That the quality drop off from your delivered quality to your this is meant to be Wobojog, what happens at the extreme end, meaning if say everything all your centre backs are wrong. Yes, yeah. If everything goes wrong, how far can you drop off?
We had at the beginning of the season, we had a period of time where we played with Hincapi and Mascara as centre backs. Like people forget this at the very beginning of the season.
Exactly.
And they did.
Exactly.
And they hold forward pretty well for the couple of games they played.
Exactly. Well, this proves it. You've only had that one bit drop off. Once I started doing this, what I did for Arsenal to Chelsea's, heaven forbid for us. You're gonna see Tottenham nearly got relegated.
Can you imagine this team with Merino? Can you imagine this team with prime Merino?
Treble,
Like
treble
try
talk.
Merino with this squad,
Treble.
like we'll do wonders, man.
treble
Yes, you're
talk.
right. Like our defense quality is actually great, and I'm happy that we are, and I hope we can add more. I know we're gonna lose White, probably.
You're looking
if
at
we lose
Konza.
White,
You're looking at Konza.
I do not want Kwanzaa, man. I don't want to be dealing with like Aston Villa and their fans again. I cannot do this again. I'm already had enough. I'm already burnt out with their like. I just not even anything against Kwanzaa. It's just that club and their fans and their manager. I don't want Kwanzaa, man. Like leave me alone. Just get me Ashimpong from Chelsea. We have this weird bromance with our local rivals that makes no sense. But I'll look past that. Just give us Ashimpong. He's your 30M, 40M, and we're good.
No, okay, I get it. We're going to be talking about some of the time left that we got left. I don't know if you see to the right here, Wobojo, just below the 61 percentile, the drop off, right?
Yep.
And it's so minor, but you're in the green, obviously, for your goalkeeper, centre back, and fullbacks. It gets scary for your striker.
The striker is my question now. Is the assumption here is Gyökeres the starting, and then whoever comes after him?
Gyökeres and Merino. So it hasn't. Remember, it doesn't include Havertz. That's part of the thing. So maybe that's where, if you got Havertz back up and fit, I think that looks a little bit less scary, right? But this is why I think Rodgers isn't there to be like a left. He can do the left wing forward position, but I've got him down as a supporting striker, false nine striker. If you watch him with Villa, particularly out of possession, right? They go into a 4-4-2 with Rodgers and Watkins literally side by side.
Yeah, very narrow, yeah.
Very, very, very narrow. Rodgers has got the license to drop into midfield and bring the ball up, right? But he's not playing. Do you know what? If I can find his heat map while I'm talking, you take over. I'm going to find his heat map because I wonder if where I am on this. I wonder if I'm right about this.
The slander on Merino is unacceptable in the stream now, Phil. I will not allow it. Merino is a superior striker. I actually sent you a link in our private chat right now. I think it's the last one. It basically shows you the quote-unquote clutch players that we have in our squad. And Merino ranks top there for the number of goals he scored that are game state changing, sorry. And I think comes after him probably... actually, I don't know if you have a minute, but it's basically the last link that I sent you in the private chat. I don't know if you can see it or not.
Yeah, let me see if I can show this. Is it this one? Yeah. Is it this one?
Yep. If you click on that graph, it basically says since 2023, who has been the most quote-unquote clutch players that we have in the squad. Let's see who's there ranked up.
Right.
Merino. So these are game-changing goals, essentially. And as a share of the squad, Merino scores the highest for us. Comes after him, surprise, surprise, Big Gabby. Then after him comes Trossard. And these are genuinely our clutch players. And so, like, Merino is such a phenomenal, like, false nine profile for us. He's been great ever since he joined. I can't speak highly of him. And so I know he's been injured this season. That's why the stats for the striker, I'm not as worried about it as much because, one, Merino is back fit. Hopefully he stays, knock on wood. And the same thing with Havertz. And so I'm hoping next season I don't see the same number of minutes Gyökeres played anymore. And I want to think, I'm hoping and praying, he was playing out of necessity, not out of preference by the coach.
I hear that. This is the heat map. Can you see the heat map for Rodgers?
Yep. Yeah.
So this is heat map in the Premier League. Now, obviously, the bigger. There's a little bit when you've got spread, you're looking at the left side a little bit more, right? However, where you see him is in that half space centrally here. I don't know if you can see my cursor right here, and obviously here as well. And I think
This is
he's
where
more
he's
of a
doing
central.
his XG cheating, essentially.
Precisely. And this is him in the Premier League, right? But in the UEFA, Europa, where he won,
Oh,
it gets
interesting.
even
I did
more.
not see that coming.
It gets
Yeah,
exactly.
I did not see that
He
coming.
is told he's very much central in this type of area. So that's why I've got my suspicions about what Rodgers is actually meant to be for. When we look at your striking department, obviously we keep in mind that Havertz was injured, and he doesn't account for this. I think this looks a lot less in that situation. But I see Rodgers being a striker, supporting striker, false nine who can play left wing forward, rather than a left winger who can play left wing forward, false nine, and striker.
I don't know how much in depth you want to go into this, but I still don't buy the Rodgers as a second striker.
Okay.
The reason being is, if you actually look at Rodgers' profile, it's closer to an Eze. And so if we cannot do it with an Eze, why would we think we can do it with the Rodgers?
Great question.
And second
Let's have a
question, is
look.
this really the best allocation of resources, like given the amount of money we're going to have to pay for him?
Right. Well, what do you think?
I sent you two links on the private chat as well. And I think one of them is about Rodgers. I can't remember. Is it the first one or the second one? I think one is basically comparing Rodgers to Eze. And you can see how close and similar they are in profile, in radar-wise. And how different they are with Odegaard. And in my mind, if we're buying Rodgers, it's because we're moving Eze the year after. That's the only way I can make sense of Rodgers coming into the team. If Eze is going to be here for the next 3 years, I don't see the point of Rodgers. I genuinely don't get it. Like, why would we
Can you see
pay
this?
all that money? Yep, look at how close they are. Add Odegaard on top of that and see what a different midfielder he is.
So for the audience, Eze is here in the pinkish reddish. No, excuse me. Rodgers is in the pinkish reddish. Eze is in the blue. I would keep in mind though that this is obviously in the Premier League. This has got minutes for Eze as 2,000 minutes, just above 2,000, 2,100, whereas Rodgers has played has got 3,625 minutes.
I'm not worried about the minutes so much because I think 2,000 minutes is enough sample size to give us an idea about the radar of a player, like a profile of what they're good at and what they're not good at. I think 2,000 minutes is sufficient, right?
Yes, I guess it has a bearing on the percentile ranking. So, for instance, I looked at with Bobby Fairview last week on Garnacho. So, Garnacho's, for instance, his percentiles are like elite, right? To some surprise, but it's because he's part of that attributed to the fact that he's played like 1,300 minutes. So, what would happen? The question: does that sort of even out if he had to play 3,500 minutes like Rodgers did in the league plus in other competitions? How does that pan out? I'm saying I assume it's going to drop.
It should drop.
So, for instance, and to add to this, let me share this with you. Can you see this? Yeah, you can.
Yep.
So, in 25-26, Rodgers got 40 across all competitions. This is incredible.
Insane number of minutes. This is insane number of minutes.
4,500 minutes. This is it. This is when you're asking the difference between Eze and Rodgers. 4,500 minutes in 25-26, 14 goals, 11 assists. 4,495 minutes in 24-25 season, 14 goals, 13 assists. What does that tell you?
Robust and consistent. Yeah, this is not like
and consistent
stats.
Yeah. Exactly. And in fact, in the season before, when he went from Middlesbrough to Villa, where he played 2,800 minutes, he still got 10 goals, 9 assists. This is very consistent.
But I don't care about these. So I do get the points, and I do get the numbers. I don't look at the goals and assists of a player in without the context of their expected goals and expected assists. So for me, is he hitting his expected values? Is he doing what he's expecting to do? Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So for Rodgers is actually super low. His expected goals are super low. I was looking at it because well, I think that's partly to do with the team that he's playing for. He's not playing for Arsenal. Arsenal metrics that are absolutely supreme. If you look at, if we just look at, in fact, let me get it on the screen. If we look at metrics for Arsenal and for Villa, let me get this on the screen. Can you see the radar? Can you see the?
Yeah, I can see the radar. Yeah.
So this is Arsenal. Amazing, right? Let's see. I haven't seen Aston. I can't remember Aston Villa's. And this is Aston Villa.
Yeah. Much smaller. Yeah. Physicality is less than us. That is interesting.
Okay. So now the context is, and I think if you're part of that Arsenal recruitment team and you're doing what Wobojog has said you should do, which is look at the context, don't just look at the GA and goals assists. What's the environment? Well, in the pinkish reddish for Aston Villa, the environment is actually not too dissimilar in terms of what they're trying to do to Arsenal, but it's on a far smaller scale. Like,
yeah, it's a difference in quality and budget, right?
They are 40 percentiles lower than you in pressing. They are 40 to 50% percentiles lower than you in physicality. Obviously, there's tactical tweaks here, right? It could suggest that obviously that Villa are a bit more counter-attacking, which actually
like a high level, right? Like to get the ball back from the teams up front. Yeah,
exactly. But even then, if they're going to be a counter-attacking team, you're still 20%, nearly 20 percentiles higher than them when it comes to counter-attacking football. You crush them in possessions, you crush them in attacking, and you crush them in goals. So if you're Arsenal, you're thinking, hold on a minute. If Rodgers is able to get in the last 2 seasons, and if you count the third season as well, but the last 2 seasons in particular, 20 plus GA in this environment and in this system, well, what could he do for us, essentially? And I know some of the debate will be, and I'll go back to Eze in terms of what did Eze, how many goals did Eze score? I'll go back to I understand what people say, well, Arsenal come up against a low block, right? It's and everything else. But we've just seen here that Arsenal are able to switch play a lot quicker and a lot more frequently than Villa can. Hence why their counter-attacking numbers are higher than Villa's. So what they're thinking is, hold on, if we can get Rodgers involved, we become a far more potent compared to what Eze is doing, or at least have some sort of rotation. Now, to be fair, can you see the can you see Eze's?
Yep.
So to be fair to Eze, he's played 50. Well, he's been involved in 54 games. He's got 10 goals, 5 assists, playing for a far superior team. The majority of his goals obviously came in the Premier League, which is pretty good.
No. The majority of his games came against Tottenham. He scored 5 against them. He put a hat-trick the first game and then 2 the second.
See,
he scored 2 goals.
This is the context. This is why we have Wobojog here. This is the context. This is the context. Exactly. Whereas Rodgers is far outscoring his XG, playing for a team that is in some categories compared to Arsenal 20, 30, 40 percentiles lower, and is still managing to get 20 plus GA, and I guarantee you 5 of them aren't against Tottenham.
I know. But if you are like working in recruitment, Phil, like if you're in a recruitment team right now and you're like in a scouting department and you have X amount of budget allocated for you this summer to spend, and Rodgers is going to eat up this amount of it. So let's say we have 200, and with amortization and whatnot for this summer, let's say Rodgers' contract deal will eat up 20%, 30%, 40%. No, I don't want 40%. That's a lot. 30% of your summer budget. It's going to be expensive. He's not going to come in cheap, right? He's going to be like 100, 150,
yes.
120, right? And you are responsible. This is your job. You work in the recruitment team, and you're working with the coaching staff, because this is a collaboration effort between Arteta and his coaches, your Berta and the finance department, and then the data department, and you're all working together in tandem. Would you feel comfortable allocating this amount of resources for a player that you know he's overachieving his XG, he's overperforming his expected values? Like this, you would rather, if you are in that position, generally, you would want to commit to a player that is either hitting his expected values or underperforming his expected values, because you know that can be solved with coaching. But if, for God forbid, for whatever reason, he ends up reverting back to the mean, because that's just the nature of things. Everybody reverts. Unless you're Messi or Cristiano, you are going to revert back to the mean. You're going to go back to the expected values over your career, right? Like, how many people do we know keep overperforming their values year in, year out?
You're getting closer to the point there. So, and this is the part where I was like, I don't have this data, but let's hypothetically assume that Rodgers has been overperforming his XG values for the past 2 seasons. What does that tell you? He consistently overperforms his XG values in a team that is statistically in every category worse than yours. So isn't it what's the word I'm looking for? Would it be that much of a step to say, if we therefore put Rodgers in an Arsenal team, are we not? Is that XG not only gonna get higher, go up, because of his ability to score from low quality chances, and to also add to the fact that he'll get high quality chances? Are we not? Isn't that GA just going to transfer, and we're going to get more goals? We're going to have a clutch player. We're going to win games
But isn't that like a logical fallacy to expect the same to continue, right? Like what you generally in statistics, or if you're looking at your data department, you're like, yeah, we should not expect the same to continue to happen, because we have, over the past 10 years, 20 years, over the thousands of players that we've watched and analyzed, every single one ends up reverting back to the mean within a season, and if not within 2 or 3 over the career, they end up reverting back to the mean. And so I would be more comfortable with Rodgers hitting his GA values, right? If he has like a mid-level GA expected values, and then I can make that argument that you're making of, if I bring you over to a team with a better setup that will provide to you with higher chances, higher quality chances, and better expected values overall, just because of the setup you're in, I'm expecting you to meet your expected values again and again. And so, like, for example, a player that you can compare to, and I know this is going to drive Bobby probably up the wall, but like Jackson, right? Like, Jackson is a frustrating player, and he will drive you insane. But if you actually look at his expected values, he keeps hitting them again and again. And so I'm more comfortable with spending money on a Jackson-like player that I know exactly what I'm getting with. I don't have any surprises. I don't go into signing them with the hope of doing something. You know what I mean? Like, with the hope of like, I hope they overperform their XG values again. You go in with the expected value of like, with the expectation of they're going to hit their XG values again. Yeah. That's a safer bet than saying, I think I'm expecting that they're going to overperform their XG again, because that doesn't happen that often, and it's very uncommon. And so it's a point of like, how were you looking at it? If I put myself in a situation, like, put yourself in the shoes of a recruiting team inside the club, are you comfortable allocating 100+ M's on a player overperforming their XG with a good chance of reverting back to the mean throughout history?
So where you're absolutely right is in the case of, for instance, let me bring these up, Mbeumo and Cunha, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So everybody said Mbeumo and Cunha are 20-goal contribution guys because they scored, especially Mbeumo, in bad team. Sorry, took you off by accident. Because they scored 20 goals.
In bad teams. Imagine what happens if they go to United.
Right, exactly. And if we see here, can you see the screen?
Yep.
Okay, so this is the season so 24-25 season. Can you see where I'm going with this, yeah? 24-25, 20 goals, 8 assists. I can tell you this, and I remember this, but I haven't got it. Mr. Mbeumo far outperformed his XG. if you look at literally the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons before that, it's all
It's so
8s and 7s, 9 8s, and then when he goes to Manchester United, it pretty much goes back to the mean of 15 GA, right? He was getting 15,
Yep.
16 GA before, then he got. However, though, and then I think it's pretty similar for Cunha, right? But then, however, when we go back to Mr. Rogers, why there's a difference for Mr. Rogers compared to the other two, or compared to Mbeumo, but I think it's similar for Cunha. This is 3 seasons of going from 19 GA to 27 GA to 25 GA. This isn't this. This is. How old is he again? How old is Rogers?
Rogers like 23? Is it 23?
Yeah, say he's
young.
23, 20. He's young. Okay, he's 23 exactly. He's going to be 24 in. He's going to be 24. Oh, he's going to be 24 in July 26. So he's just before his peak, right? And I think if you're in the Arsenal recruitment team, that you can see already the difference between Rogers and Mbeumo, which is he's in the last 3 seasons, he is only going up. The more minutes he's playing, the more consistency he's doing. And he has gone from 49, 54, 55 games, gone from 19 GA, 27 GA to 26 GA, and he's in the World Cup. He's not yet his peak. I think you're going to take, it's less of a risk taking a soon-to-be 24-year-old Rogers to a soon 26, 27-year-old Mbeumo. So I think that's how they're looking at it.
If that's the context, yes, you're right. But then again, is Rogers what we need for the problems that we have? Like whereas like this is all predicated on the assumption that yes, Rogers is going to solve the problems that we have. But does he though?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. I think you should have bought either Gordon or now you're looking at Barcola because I think you need a winger.
Why am I buy like the Scouse Martinelli? Like I'm good.
Well, because the Scouse Martinelli is better on the wing, but actually maybe even Barcola. So Barcola is more of a natural winger. I think you need to stretch the pitch. You're very, very condensed and you're highly reliant on rotation. The only other player that can really do what Saka can do, I think Saka's the only one that can do it to the high level that you have on that wing. And if you don't have Saka, you got Madueke, who I don't mind Madueke, but he's not Saka.
No, he's not.
Right. So
let's
you need more. Right, and you need more than that, right? So if you can stop Saka or Saka's not injured, then what have you got, right? And obviously teams are getting better at defending those central areas. But if you've got a Barcola, then it gets a lot more dangerous, and it gets a lot more worrying having a guy that enjoys playing on the wing, and then with his pace, his skill, his experience of dealing with low box week to week. So I think he makes probably even more sense in terms of getting him. So I think probably Barcola is the better fit. But I just think Rogers isn't the winger you're looking for. I think he's a supporting striker or part of the striking rotation that you'd have. And for me, in that sense, it would make sense. Would the allocation of 130 million for that be worth it?
I doubt it, man. If I'm not getting a Rice quality in that position, I don't know why we're spending that.
Unless you sell Gyökeres.
If we sell Gyökeres, we have to. First of all, if we sell Gyökeres, we don't need to replace him with a what is it called? We don't need to replace him with a like-for-like striker, like a traditional one. We need a false nine striker that can work around Havertz or Merino, somebody of a Krupi style, right, or an Alvarez. Like that's the profile that we need, not another traditional nine. Because traditional nines, if you're not Haaland, I'm sorry, I'm not interested. Like, there's only like Haaland and there's like Kane, right? Like these are the traditional nines. Even Kane is not even a traditional nine anymore. The guy keeps dropping down. But like Haaland is the guy, right? And so like, what are the traditional nines available out there? Not really many of that quality anymore. And so you would look at a Krupi, at an Alvarez. Or you would look at a product striker, somebody like Kufani from the Bundesliga. I think recently I saw links to him, but we don't know. It could be another Glab for all we know. But like Rodgers as a striker, maybe I don't know. I don't want to be unfair to him. Like genuinely, I want to give every player that I look at, I want to give them the best benefit of the doubt, quote unquote, right? But like I also have to be realistic of like, okay, so this is what I've seen from you. This is the context that I've seen you do this. And I remember Rodgers at the beginning of the season, he almost had like a fight, not like a fight, but like I had a banter thing going on with like, there's an account on Twitter, it's called XG Philosophy. Have you
Right.
seen it? You know that account, XG Philosophy?
I've heard of it. I've heard of it though. I've heard of it.
Yeah, so the XG Philosophy, basically they go like, oh yeah, this player, this game had this expected goals, but they scored this number of goals. And so there's a running joke between him, like this account, and Morgan Rodgers, and like Aston Villa fans, is that Morgan Rodgers at the beginning of the season was just keep insisting on cheating XG by scoring 2 goals
Oh,
from like
yeah,
0.2
yeah.
XG, right? And so like at the beginning of like, this is not supposed to be happening, but he was scoring goals, and he's great for that. But I want a player that they score their expected number of goals that they are supposed to get. And you want to live in a world where there's less, what are they called? There's less variables, essentially, of things can go wrong and drive your performance one way or the other. So, like, for example, Haaland is the best striker, but also has he performs almost very close to his XG, but also means all the chances that he wasted, he also wastes a lot of chances, but he scores a lot of them as well because he generates XG.
Right.
And so I'm interested in a player like Brentford CEO keeps saying, and also I think Brighton CEO as well, they keep saying is basically I'm more interested in a player that generates chances, generate XG for themselves, than score them and convert them with high conversion rate.
Ideally, yes, but you also need a team that creates those chances, which City and Arsenal do. And I would argue that Rodgers, part of the reason why his XG chances are so low is because he's having to generate those chances himself. So I think what Arsenal recruiters might be thinking of, okay, you got the self-generating chances really good, but we need you to, then join a team that can create it for you. But I see there's a lot of flaws in it as well. We've come to the end though.
If you take what you're saying to the next logical conclusion, is that assume that Rodgers has, I don't know, let's say he has a 10 GA expected values, but he scored 20, right? So he doubled his GA essentially. He overperformed by. And if he comes to Arsenal and he has a 20 GA expected GA, you're saying we should expect 40 goals, right? You're talking about Ballon d'Or level player here.
Like, no, yeah, not necessarily a 20 GA, because 40 GA, it doesn't necessarily have to be like as that kind of at that high.
A one-to-one linear mapping. Yeah, so
what you want is essentially the transference. Even his current GA would do you a world of good, right? The 25 GA he's producing now is pretty good. What you're just wondering is, can we transfer this 25 GA into this Arsenal squad? And 5 of them don't have to be against Tottenham, but at least from other teams. I think the answer is probably yes.
But so another thing to keep in mind, let's say we signed Rodgers, where does he play? As a second striker. So essentially, I have to drop one of the midfielders or the wingers, right?
Yes, which I wouldn't be a fan of.
Okay, so does he replace any of the profiles that we have right now? And does that mean we have to change the way we play? And 2, how is he in his defensive attributes? Again, this team is built on defensive solidity.
Bad.
Yeah, I'm not interested.
Bad.
I'm not paying 120. I'm not paying 120, 130 on a guy who doesn't track back. Like, I don't need that. I'm good. We're good.
And he loses the ball. Fair enough. I think the Barcola would be phenomenal though. If you get Barcola, that'd be phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Well, we've come to the end of the show. I want to ask Wobojo before we can kind of conclude. We've talked about the financial aspect of the team, super healthy. We've talked about the breaking down of your squad from part 1, essentially looking at as a how good is your squad on paper, to part 2, the delivered quality in terms of what was available, part 3 in terms of the depth and the resilience, which is a very, 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 very good. And all things around Arsenal. How has it been for you, Wobojo? Do you feel like that this was a good breakdown of Arsenal And in terms of like your final thoughts on Arsenal, what we did today, does it kind of crystallize or maybe add to where you thought the gaps were and where you need to add? Where would you add for Arsenal in the summer window?
In the summer window, we need a top 5, top 10 left winger, and we need a project
Yeah.
rise profile midfielder. Like these are non-negotiables for me. I'm not interested in Mr. Berta spinning 1,000 plates at the same time, trying to like do his weird thing of like, oh, I'm gonna talk to all these players and then I'm gonna lock down on one. Like if I'm a player and I'm talking to a sporting director that I know he's doing this, like, why would I commit to you and help you negotiate with my team and say I only want Arsenal if I know the sporting director of that team is also talking to other 10 players in my position as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we need a left winger. So if we are getting Rodgers to play a left winger, I'm not going to be the most excited, but I guess it is what it is. We need a Trossard. We need a Trossard to replacement. It's clear that, and also doesn't make sense to me. Like honestly, like it doesn't make sense to me because if we know how strict Arteta is with defensive duties and defensive responsibilities within the team. Like he is like Arteta is willing to play Martinelli over Eze, even though Eze going forward, it could be probably better in terms of like.
I'd love Martinelli at Newcastle. I'd love Martinelli
like
at Newcastle.
Hands off, man. Like seriously, we just lost Trossard, and I can't lose anymore. Imagine like, do you remember the goal that I think after the Aston Villa scored to tie the game? I think, or win the game, or whatever. Like playing at the Villa Park, and I think it was an Eze mistake or some sort of defensive.
Yeah,
and we didn't see it for like a few months. And like you're telling me right now, like Rodgers is not very disciplined defensively speaking. Like, what are you like? How are we spending that kind of money on a player like that, given who's our coach right now? Like, if this was like another coach, if this was like Bielsa, if this is Pep, if this is any of those like more attacking focused coaches, I'll be like, I can see it for them and their mind it makes sense. But for like Arteta, like I don't see why would Mikel accept that. That's another thing of like, I don't know why we're going to spend 130 million on a player who's not defensively disciplined in that way, like keeping the ball and tracking back and helping their teammates. Their team.
I see it.
Our defensive solidity is a. It's not just the defensive line; it's the whole unit together, working together, and forcing the other team down the alleys and pathways of where our defensive side is best suited to deal with ball. So that I don't know. I don't want to keep talking more about Rodgers, but
and
so
overall, do you feel like go on?
So now I see. I don't know if you have a minute for this, but we have. So the links that I've been seeing so far is with this guy Tuzoli from Club Rouge. Not really that excited about him. I don't want another cheap alternative. Like we won the damn league, man. Like go and buy premium players. Like stop trying to don't try to do this. You're not Arsene Wenger back in the 2000s when there was no data departments and he's good. He has a good network and he can play the market.
What if you sold Trossard? Obviously, you sold Trossard, Martinelli, but you replaced them with Barcola and Sully.
I'll be okay with that. Yeah, just because I know Barcola is going to be my starting left winger, and they're
because I know that Martinelli will go to Newcastle.
Like Martinelli is such a Newcastle player. You have no idea.
Probably.
That guy is a running. He does not stop.
Eddie Howe would love him, and he'll love Eddie Howe.
You know what? You know why I think Martinelli is such a good fit for Newcastle? Actually, more than people think. I know people are making the joke about, oh, he's just a running machine and he's just physical. Actually, Martinelli is very dangerous centrally. He's a very good finisher. And if you look at the way you're playing right now, you're not getting that with Wissa. So when you play with Walter basically that responsibility of Wissa, it will be the duties that Martinelli will take on. He will probably start left and then move centrally. And that's where Martinelli is the most dangerous. If you actually look at the 22-23 season, that's actually Martinelli was a lot closer to the half space.
In the half space,
If you compare him with like the last two seasons where everybody's kind of like basically they want him sold. He's a lot closer to the touchline, and it's instructions, obviously. And
Yes.
people sometimes can't tell the difference between the player is actually bad or the instructions are limiting what he's able to do. Especially
He
if you've
reminds me of
seen what
Harvey.
he's capable of doing.
He reminds me a little bit of Harvey Barnes, except for he's got more dribbling and speed. But if you put them out on the wing, it looks scary. But if you put them in the half space in the penalty box,
They're dangerous.
dangerous.
They're really dangerous.
Super dangerous. Exactly. Well, folks,
And so-
we've had go on.
I'm sorry, I keep stopping you, but like my only
No, go on.
Just to wrap it up, my only concern for this transfer window is we don't get. So we're gonna start next season, and people think I'm joking, and I'm not. I'm not dooming, or I'm not doing the whole doomerism thing. But we're gonna start next season. Saka not fit, Rice not fit, Saliba not fit. At least the first 3-4 weeks, at minimum, right? Saliba is going to be come back from surgery, so I'll put that 5 to 6 weeks. Rice has a nerve issue in his hamstring. I don't know how long do these usually take to heal. And Saka has the Achilles thing, which takes a long time to heal completely. So you're looking at your MVPs, quote unquote. You're already starting with a handicap. And so we need, and then on top of it, we have Trossard, we sold. We need to get the left back, get in the left wing. And Norgard is leaving as well. So we need to get a midfielder in the profile of Rice as a product to cover his space, to cover his, take some of it off him. And then you're telling, and as the center backs, okay, it's fine. Saliba is going to be out for a few weeks. You can live with that because of just the depth that we have. And Timber is out, didn't even go to the World Cup. And White is we last season took a toll on us. Really did, we made some sacrifices. I'm pretty sure we made some human sacrifices to win that league. And then so next season we're gonna start with all these players not fully fit, and people are gonna expect us to all right, you're supposed to defend your league. I'm not expecting to win the league next season, and I'm being genuine here. I'm not doing the doomerism thing. I'm not doing the pessimistic thing. I'm just looking at the state of my squad and their fitness and what I need from them next season. I don't know how much hope do I have. And I know there's a lot of variables with the other clubs as well, but I cannot depend on that. I have to do what I need to do to win the league. I cannot depend on others. Although we don't live in a vacuum, and you live in basically within the league itself, and so the other results make a difference. But if you want to defend your title, one, you have to be lucky. Doesn't look like we are going to be next season with the fitness that we have. Two, you have to make the right signings, and it doesn't look like we're going to do that as well. We're buying the Leeds number 3 keeper, and we're going to lose our number 2. And then we're going to buy this Solis from Club Rouge I've never seen before. And then I'm looking at his comps, and I'm like, even your comps that are supposed to highlight how good you are not that encouraging. And so it should be great next season, man. It should be fun. At least we won the league this season.
At least you want to win the league this season. I think you've been absolutely terrific, Wobojog. Let the folks know where they can find you.
On Twitter at @TheMazinali. That's pretty much it, really. Don't have much presence. I'm more of an observer on Twitter. I don't comment a lot. I don't write a lot. I just read what other people are doing. So I'm more like a stalker on social media.
Well, you've been absolutely incredible. I knew it. I knew that it would be a very, very high quality show. Folks, we covered right at the beginning, as always, obviously we covered Arsenal from a rival's lens perspective, looking at the finances from the beginning. Again, for me, Arsenal's have been the most impressive, not just because of the revenue or anything like that, because Man United have got revenue, but in terms of everything that's baked into that, which is you can see competition, you can see winning, but you can also see serious branding. And we talked about the storyline behind that branding as well, something that Newcastle can learn a lot of lessons from. And then we did the squad breakdown in 3 different parts, looking at Arsenal as a squad in terms of on paper, then the actual squad that's delivered, if you add in rotations and minutes, and then the squad, the resilience, the depth. So if all goes to hell, who's there and who's available? And the Arsenal squad has been certainly the most available and the most impressive. And like I said to Wobojog, and he agrees, is like I said, if you put the likes of Mascara and I forgot the other gentleman, Mascara and who? Hincapié, yeah, for instance, they'll be starting players for a lot of teams. And I think that's what definitely got Arsenal over the line. You have to remember, Arsenal played 64,000 minutes. They reached 2 finals, Champions League and League Cup, quarterfinal of the FA Cup, and won the Premier League. They did absolutely had a phenomenal year. And to end it all, I was saying, hey, you could build a dynasty here. But Wobojog's like, I don't think so. So essentially, that's what it is. So we'll see. We'll see where we end. It's going to be hopefully you return on Wobojog, because when we do the at the end of the transfer window, but hopefully even in between, hopefully there's some shows where you can join us as well. That'd be really great to have you. But yes, for sure, at the end of the transfer window, we'll go back to this and say, so where are we at? Can you defend your title? How can you defend the title? Hopefully, we'll get a more resounding yes. And I think it's been phenomenal, folks. As always, I know the World Cup is on, so it's always difficult for people to watch and to have the World Cup on at the same time. But for those of you that watched, I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. Please do leave a comment. Please do leave a like, as always. And as always, folks, take care of yourselves and God bless you all. Take care.